Thank you all for joining us today for our Rooted in Family Planning conversation. My name is Brittany Dubrow, Director of Programs with Restoring Our Own Through Transformation, also known as Root. This year's Black Maternal Health Week theme is Our Bodies Belong to Us, Restoring Black Autonomy and Joy. Today we have some of our very own Root families, Chris and Kenny. Thanks for joining us. And our very own Shania, who is also our perinatal support doula with our organization. Today, we're here to talk about family planning. How were you all, your family, rooted in the family planning process? So I'll open up the conversation with what brought you to Root. Kenny, Chris, I'll start with you.
In 2019, I feel like social media was very, very prevalent on a lot of black mothers dying during birth, during their carry. And I had debilitating anxiety about it because it was always being on the social media, and it was so strong back in 2019 to me, I feel like. Now, we always know that it's always been going on, but it's just different seeing it, coming to the forefront on social media all the time. And so for me, since I was over 35, it was going to be not considered a geriatric pregnancy. I just wanted to, and it was my first, I wanted to make sure that I had that extra assurance being a first time mom. And I was like, I have to have a doula. And I had met Jessica and I knew about Root. And I was like, that's just the only way that I would have it. So I was advocating for having a doula, especially with my first pregnancy and just walking through that journey.
And I'd like to add that we started way early. I mean, because we met Jessica, we weren't even really we were thinking about having a child, but we weren't necessarily planning. It wasn't part of the plan. But she's like, so when are you guys gonna have your child? And we're like,
I don't know.
we don't know.
But I didn't know anybody that had a doula,
Yeah,
so I wanted to
that
get
makes
information
sense.
from her and just ask whatever, like what do you guys do? How does it work? When do I call? Why would someone want a doula? And she met with us probably about a year before, and it was great. We had a great conversation.
That's good.
So,
That's good.
yes.
Yes. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. That is so powerful. Starting from the thought of maybe do we
Yeah.
want to have a baby, and
Yeah.
because we do the full spectrum
Yes.
from the point of thinking about wanting to have a child up until 18 months postpartum. That
Yes.
is what family planning looks like, and it extends after postpartum because
Yeah.
your babies continue to grow up, you all continue to develop as well. So Shania, what was it like for you for family planning?
As far as why I came
Yes.
to it, I was actually pregnant with baby number 7, and I probably a few weeks before, I had a SVT incident with my heart, and was up at the ER. I was very scared. They ended up having to stop and restart my heart, and a good friend of mine, Daisha, who's actually a doula here, a supervisor doula here, she was working for Root at the time. And I was telling her what was going on. She connected me with Jessica. Jessica ended up being my doula. And Jessica ended up saving my life during that delivery because my BP bottomed out. She actually noticed it before the rest of the staff did. She kept in communication with me during that time. So I was Root from then on and had another baby after that with Root.
And then now you're a perinatal
Yes.
support doula with Root. So you've been rooted out.
Yeah, can't get rid of me.
That is really good to hear, and that connection, that word of mouth, giving the information about the supportive services that Root provides in the community.
Yeah.
That's really good. So, how did you and your family and or village prepare for the new addition to your family? What did that look like for you all?
So I will say, usually it's pretty, by the time when we got to baby number 7 or 8, we were just kind of like, okay, this is what we do. I would say with baby number 8, because we had already had the experience with Jessica and the Root staff, it was a no-brainer for me that we were going to pick up another doula. On top of that, it just looked like another reviewing of what our finances were, because children are expensive.
Inflation.
Girl, yes. So it was a reviewing of finances, reviewing of what my medical leave looked like, because I knew that we were not quite possibly done yet. After we had baby number 7, I had already chose to top up my insurance so I could get the most payout. It looked like, what does my maternity leave look like for us? And then just the logistics mentally, am I prepared for another child? How is our relationship looking? And then, calling in reinforcements from family, basically from your village of, can you support in this area?
Because you have so many other kids, how did you help them plan and prepare to a new addition?
I will say my children love babies. I know with the last baby, I was not in a very good headspace when we found out. But my children were excited, very accepting. And what we do to help involve them is, naming. We always discuss the babies. If I can bring them with me to an appointment, they come to an appointment, they see the sonograms. So just involving them in every step of the way, because even though they're not adults, they are still going to be participating in that relationship.
Yeah, they'll remember that too, the connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say when it came down to planning for us, we've been together, a long time before we even thought about bringing a child, into the world. So for us, it was more so like, okay, what are we going to be missing out on? It was just us. So we knew our time would now be devoted to the baby. So we had to think about those things. We didn't really talk much with family or anything like that. I mean,
You surprised
again,
the family.
We've been married.
So many years.
I can't remember. We've been married a
So
long
we was
time.
together for
Okay.
21 years, I think.
Yeah.
So we was married for
Yeah,
18
so nobody thought we
before
were
we
going to have a
got-
kid anyway.
Okay.
So they were just like, whatever, we don't believe you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Stop asking a long time ago.
Yeah. But with preparation, it was just really, doing the research. With doulas, we wanted to make sure we had a good doula.
Well, then we did decide. We were both business owners prior to, both entrepreneurs. So I ended up retiring before. So we made that decision when we found out I was pregnant. Like, we can just, I had worked 20 years. So it was like, it's cool. So I am a stay-at-home mom, which is a totally different thing than being an entrepreneur, like a solo entrepreneur. So that was probably the biggest thing, I think, for our family dynamic, because me and Kitty are both very much entrepreneur people. We think like that independently. So now just having a family is like, I have to slow down. I knew for sure I was not going to have an entrepreneur lifestyle with a newborn and being my first. I kind of just wanted to, have that time with her.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the biggest thing that we did.
It made me think about, like, before the baby, again, there's a lot of traveling and all these things you enjoy, and we just had to wrap our head around, like, that's
Not
gonna
be able
over.
to do that for a minute.
Just
For a little while.
chill.
Yes.
So yeah, that was pretty much our preparation.
But we prepared.
was just-
Yeah, we were prepared for that. I didn't feel like I missed out or anything because we had been together for so long. It was just like, all right, it's cool. It was like, we just want to relax for a second. But we're good.
That's good, and I love to hear the Black entrepreneurship going on over here. That's definitely a power move, and love to see that in our community. In our community. During your family planning, your pregnancy, was there any time where you had to pivot, had to change because an unforeseen circumstance happened, and how did you and your family adjust to that? Because we know that it's not perfect. Even though we can map out our pregnancy some way, something else may happen during that time, and we have to pivot.
So I think for me, I let a lot of people know for my postpartum care, it was really, really hard because even though we did plan to have our daughter we had our daughter doing 2020, so we got pregnant during the quarantine, and then we had her in December. And for me, for us business wise, because we're business people, that was the perfect time because it was like we're so slow, we don't know when to be back.
You're bored.
It's like, this is great. Like, you know, let's just try to see if we can get pregnant, and we did. So on that side, it was great. But postpartum wise, I just remember, you know, being by myself with Kenny, and he even said, like, with his business, he would tell some of the people at his job or at his business, like, oh yeah, you know, it's just me and my wife, and they're like, why? Like, you have a newborn, just you and your wife, and he's like, well, because it's COVID, and you know, we didn't want a lot of people coming over, and everybody was looking like, not even your parents, like, what? And when I look back, like, you know, we didn't know what COVID was going to be, so we were just being kind of like over, you know, protective. And literally, we had no visitors for 4 months.
Wow.
So, like, his mom came over, like, so we brought her home, and she maybe came over, like, his mom and dad came over, like, a week or so after, but it wasn't, like, how it would normally be, and I kind of felt sad about that because it was, like, I didn't have the support like how I had supported. You know, like my friends and family, they wasn't able to support me. You know, like, oh my gosh, you guys have a baby. Everyone was so happy. But you can have like 10 to 12 people over your house all day. That makes the time go faster. You know what I'm saying? So like for us, it was
Long
like
days.
long days with a newborn baby. You know, your first time pregnancy. I had postpartum healing. So for me, I felt like it was very the fourth trimester for me. I feel like I lived the fourth trimester.
You lived it.
Every minute, every hour, I lived it. You know, I was pumping around the clock. It was just a lot, you know. And I didn't have the support that I gave to my friends. You know, I would come over. People wanted to come and just visit or just hold the baby. I'll go take a nap. We just didn't have it. But we didn't think about that, you know, in the beginning. We were just like, oh, the business are going to be down. This is perfect. So that was one thing that kind of it was just different.
Yeah.
Unpredictable.
It was like, oh man.
And so you mentioned something that, you know, we talk about a lot within our organization and talk a lot about with our families is the emotional and mental health side of being pregnant and postpartum, the fourth trimester.
Yes.
Did you all do anything to nourish those feelings that you all were having?
I think for me, I was I am very vocal. That could be the entrepreneur side. I was very vocal to Kenny and my mom. Like, you know, when I had the baby, I don't want to do anything but like sleep and feed her. You know, like that fourth trimester, I just really want to give time to myself because I didn't know what to expect with even giving birth. You know, I just wanted them to, you know, if you want to cook or something, that's fine. And my mom and Kenny, they were good. Like, my mom didn't come every day, but she came maybe like once a week, and they were like really supportive on that part. I feel like that helped me a lot because I was just very honest. Yeah. Like, I'm not that girl. I'm not trying to be like a super mom. I didn't know what to do. So I'm like, all I'm going to do is try to get sleep when I can and just feed her. I want to make sure she's properly fed because I want to do breastfeeding and stuff like that. So it's like, that really was all I was looking to do.
Yeah. Well, good
but I
for
feel
you.
like for
That's
mental health, to me, I feel like that was the best thing I could do for me, and I was, you know, we were by ourselves. You know, it's just a lot going on. So it's just like, that's all I could do. Yeah. And I think it worked. It was fine. I mean, thinking back, it was a lot, but I feel like that was my way of, you know, keeping me sane because, you know, it's just not like how normally, like even now, like I couldn't go to Target or just hang out. I mean, it was still so big COVID. I mean, the vaccines weren't even out, you know, so we were really in the house every day.
Kenny, what about you? Did you do anything to nourish some of those fourth trimester feelings? Because our partners and spouses, they feel that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Just really just being as supportive as I could for Chris. You know, I guess when it comes to pregnancy, again, I had no clue what I was getting into. So I really leaned on her to guide me and, you know, just let me know, what do you need? You know, whatever you need, I'm supportive. And then with it being a pandemic, I had no choice but to be there. I mean, I couldn't go anywhere. So I think for us, it couldn't have happened at a better time
Mm-hmm.
because any other regular time, I'm taking care of business, running around doing stuff. But I think it was just God's plan for us for
That's
things
right.
to happen that way, and yeah, I'm so grateful it happened when it did. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I would say with my 8th pregnancy, um, it was
Was
in
this
the
a COVID baby too?
yes, girl.
I had a COVID baby too, so we're like,
Everybody
COVID
had
over
COVID,
here.
you
Yeah,
know.
the quarantine.
They
Quarantine.
something else. It was during around the June 2020, height of COVID. My husband and I split for a while, and it was a very traumatic time for the family. I was 8.5 months pregnant, and it was like the bottom just dropped. And I didn't know how to get my parents. It just kind of felt like I was on one of those merry-go-rounds and someone spun it, and I was just like, wait a minute, stop for a second. I remember I called my doula at the time with Rude and told her what was going on and just, how do we do this? Because I was struggling along the way with accepting the pregnancy. I just was not in a headspace. I thought we had time before we expanded our family again. I was very afraid that I would not be able to bond with the baby once he got here. And so that was like me pulling in, family and close friends, even just having conversations like, I don't feel okay today. I don't know how I'm going to get to the next step. I would say there was more pivoting because he was my first cesarean, an emergency cesarean. Almost lost him during the delivery, and having to come home and now heal with 7 children, a newborn, a cesarean. My husband is not there. It was a lot. So I really experienced postpartum depression during that time. I learned a lot of things about myself, about my children, about my marriage, about my strength. During that time, there was more pivoting. I ended up quitting a job I'd been with for forever, started school, and started working here. So,
You seen the opportunity.
absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm good.
Yeah, it was like the world's on fire, so just add more to
Come
it
on.
and go.
Just add more gasoline
yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
Well, good for you because
Thank you.
both of you all's experiences are very valid and I appreciate you all talking about the emotional side of things because a lot of people just see pregnancy and babies as
Oh,
the
yeah.
butterflies
Yeah.
and the candy, but there are real things that happen to us when we are bringing a new life into this world and having to navigate the different nuances in our families from, healing to mental health to bonding to communication. Like all of those things are important when we talk about family planning. So, alrighty, we've talked about you all's experiences. If you had to give a statement or wisdom to another family, what would that be?
That's good.
About getting into it
Or about getting a doula, about
Incredible.
family planning.
family planning. Well, I think that there's really no like perfect time, for us. I always tell people that maybe don't have any children and they want to have children. They might see like, oh, I wish that I could, have the stability in a relationship or financially like you guys did. And it's like, even with that in place, bringing in a child or children is still very different. The dynamic of your lifestyle is different. So I don't think that you can really prepare for that, just to be honest. I think that you can, do everything that you feel that, would work well with your family dynamic. But in all actuality, it's like you just don't know, how it would be until after you have your baby. So for me, I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, it's always good to, have those things in place and make sure that you're in a good, mind space before. I kind of feel like sometimes when people do have really bad postpartum, probably not all the time, before they were pregnant or even during that time of pregnancy, they were already kind of in this space. And then adding the baby kind of just brings up more, because the stress of it, like I had a perfect situation. It still was very stressful. It still was very lonely. It was still a lot of navigating alone, feeling isolated. Even though I had my partner, it was still hard. It was harder than any other thing. I've done so many hard things. It was still harder than any other thing with like the perfect situation. So I mean, I would just tell people, it's just something that you have to enjoy and make yourself, and I feel like if you always, as mothers, Black mothers, if they always are just staying true to, how they operate, within themselves and just monitoring themselves during that journey, I think, they'll be fine. It's always a lot of bending and breaking.
Yes.
It's like, that's not really you. Don't do that, because now you're bending and then you're doing, this is a lot going on. But yeah, do you have anything? What did you say?
Well, said a lot. But yeah, I would agree, for the most part. I mean, it's having a baby, you can't, I don't think you can truly prepare for it. I mean, with your partner, whoever you're with, you definitely communicate, talk about it, because maybe they don't want to have a child, maybe you both, the timing, I don't think the timing can ever be exactly right. Some people say, hey, have your kid when you're in your 20s, have them in your 30s when you're established. I don't know, so it just depends on your situation. But yeah, just communicate and just know that you're gonna be in for a fun ride.
Some parts might be fun.
Never experienced
Some parts. Some
A
parts.
ride.
A ride.
It's definitely a ride.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah,
It
roller
has its
coaster.
highs and its lows. Well, I really like what you said. Like, you really can't, you can plan, but you never know. And like, Shanae, you even hit on that point. Sometimes we're not necessarily planning for another child, but it happens and we pivot.
Yeah.
And for you, Shanae, you chose to keep your child and, go along with that process.
Yeah.
Sometimes family planning is choosing not to keep it. So whatever works best for that family. So yeah, Shanae, what about you? What is your piece of wisdom?
I have so many.
Okay, leave it at 2.
Right. I've gone the spectrum of having children in my 20s to almost 40, and I had my last one. I would say, one, pay attention to yourself. As far as where you are in life right now, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. It doesn't mean they need to stop. You may have to put them on hold, or kind of finagle them a little bit to make some things happen. Pay attention to your relationship. Your relationship, just like how you as a parent will evolve, your relationship will continue to evolve. The same thing where you do check-ins. You always have parent-teacher conferences. Check in with your spouse, because a lot of times we get so focused on baby that we forget our spouse, and we also forget ourselves, especially as women. We feel like we need to be all the things, and we forget that we just need to be ourselves.
Like Chris was saying, not trying to be Superwoman.
Yeah, because
That's not my personality. I don't do that. What is it, like stretch too thin?
Yeah, that'll kill you. I mean, that's
it gives me anxiety. Like I can't stretch too thin.
yeah. And I love that you spoke about being a stay-at-home mom. I was a stay-at-home mom for a while, and the amount of work it takes just to be a stay-at-home mom and wife is like, I might just work outside
just to get a break.
Yeah, just to get a break. But understanding too, I guess my final point would be understanding that regardless of what your situation is and what your experiences are, your feelings and your experiences are still valid.
Yeah.
So someone else may be stressed in something else. Don't compare yourself and think, I shouldn't be as stressed. I shouldn't feel this way because they're going through something different. It's just different. Your experience is still your experience.
And your stress is your stress.
Yes. Amen.
We all handle that.
It don't matter what kind of stress it is to be stressed out.
And I would add too, real quick, that the stay-at-home mom thing, when Chris mentioned that she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, or not that she wanted to be, but hey, if we have a kid, this is what I'm gonna be doing.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, you know. So, but I think as men, you know, we want to be providers. We want to, you know, take care of family, you know, all those things. But depending on your situation, you know, you may, everybody's situation, you know, split the bills and all these things. So when that decision was made, it was like, okay, you know, that's what we're gonna do. Then, you know, that's so I need to make sure that mom's comfortable, you know, and baby's comfortable. So it was just interesting to
The transition.
yeah, the transition from,
We
you
had
know,
a big
her,
transition.
because I see her all the time. I mean, not all the time, but just way more than I
No.
used to see her.
It's like too much.
Just night and day. I mean, we were in two different worlds. She had her business, I had mine, so we would see. But now having the baby, it just really brought the family together. Like us as a couple, like we learned so much about each other these last couple years, and it's been amazing to me. Yeah. So
Yeah, I
that's-
mean, and you know that, I mean, this is not on having a doula, but just having a partner for a long time, you know, even though we was always together, we never had a child together, you know, we didn't even have a pet, like we never took care of nothing together,
A plant.
nothing.
Pet rock.
Nothing, a fish, nothing. So it's kind of just like, you know, even at that stage of, you know, being together for so long, you know, even in that stage of having kids in a long time and not having any children in so long and then having a child, it still changed the dynamic of your relationship.
Yeah.
You know, in good ways, bad ways, you know, it's just different. You know, you just learn. I'm learning him as a father, you know, I'm learning myself,
marriage.
yeah, as a mom, you know, so it's just different.
So my final question for you all, this it correlates with the theme for Black Maternal Health Week, Our Bodies Belong to Us, Restoring Autonomy and Joy. So what does autonomy and joy look like to you?
For me, I think that I would never feel confident having my first child without having a doula. I just feel like it's in our right as Black mothers to, it's like extra insurance, you know. I don't want my friend to give me information about what I should be doing during my pregnancy or how I should be laboring, you know. I want someone who works in this field. They've seen a lot of different pregnancies, you know, a lot of different births, so they can really just give me like the facts of what, you know, I should be doing. I felt more comfortable with having a doula because of that, and it gave me the confidence in that moment of having my daughter, to know I had no worries, you know. I had never had a baby, I never had been pregnant, and I never, you know, delivered before, but, you know, just thinking about my delivery, I really just left everything up to my doula because I didn't have anything in me. It's like, whatever you think is fine. So for me, it was more so just having that assurance of I'm going to be fine, you know, and even if something goes wrong, I feel confident that she is going to look out for me and she's going to make sure that me and my baby are both healthy. And, you know, that brought so much ease and joy to our life. You know, we're forever grateful for that because it doesn't matter what kind of economic situation you're in or anything, you know, things happen. I feel like with Black moms so neglectfully all the time, you know, and it's small things that are missed. And, you know, the baby or the mother is gone. So for me, that brought so much happiness, you know. I was very happy when we got home that everything was fine. And I was actually in Duke, so that was a big thing. I wanted to make sure I didn't, you know, nothing went wrong in an induction, and I always felt supported and just very much whatever you want to do, we're going to support you if you go ahead with the induction or not, or just, you know, we have whatever your best interest. And I was it helped me a lot with that. I had a great pregnancy.
That's so good to hear. Kenny, what does Black autonomy and joy look like to you?
Yeah, so for me, similar to what she said, peace of mind. You know, I know, I didn't even know, I never even heard the word doula before we took the journey to have our daughter, but once we met our doula, and they were so knowledgeable. Just I just was like, okay, I'm leaning on you. This probably sounds bad. My thought of pregnancy was like that Cosby episode with the sub. Remember the sub, and I think that was the one, right? And they kept having the kids, and they just kept coming out.
Oh no!
I don't remember.
No, I don't remember. I thought you were talking about the one where she was like, that one.
No, not that one. No, but nonetheless, I knew that was all I knew, and I was like, okay. So I told the doula, hey, whatever you need me to do, just tell me, I'll do it. And so it was just peace of mind, and I had no worries. Like even when they did the is it inducing or induction, like they wanted to do something like extra, and the doula just kind of stopped them, like, no, we're not going to do that. Like, this is what we're going to do. And I was like, all right, she knows what she's doing. I trust it, and everything was great. So yeah, it's just peace of mind.
That's it. What about you, Shania?
I would say having the freedom to decide what's best for my own family. I don't think that anyone outside of my family should have the right to come in and decide what we do, when we do it. From if we have another child, how we choose to deliver that baby, where we choose to, how we choose to raise our children, because it's our family. We've come together to put, to bring this other person into our life, to become this partner. So we're the two people that have created that child. Black joy to me is just the embodiment of that autonomy, knowing that we can safely rest in that knowledge that we can accomplish this. We are empowered with the knowledge to make these decisions, to pull in the staff that we need to. That's what that means to me.
I love you all's responses to that. And I will share what Black joy and autonomy means to me. Similar to Shania, it is the reproductive justice freedom, the right to choose when, how, and where we have our children, what our family looks like to us. The other part that really resonates with me is how we continue to build the Black community, and realizing that we have everything that we need within us as a community to build upon us and give back those resources that we need. And just that we as Black folks have come such a long way in overcoming and continue to overcome those unmet social determinants of health that attempt to impact us. It's very powerful for me. I thank you all for joining our Black Maternal Health 2023 conversation. Our bodies belong to us. Restoring Black autonomy and joy. Thank you for joining us during our conversation, Rooted in Family Choices.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.